Sometimes in Formula One, it's not about winning. It's not about standing on the podium or grabbing headlines. Sometimes it's about how you fight, what you're willing to risk when the odds are against you. That's where things got interesting in Spain. Two champions, two very different reactions, and one former F1 driver wondering aloud, did Lewis Hamilton just give up? Let's set the stage. It's the closing laps of the Spanish Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli's engine says nope and buries itself in the gravel, triggering a late safety car. The field bunches up. Tension skyrockets. Max Verstappen is in the thick of it, running in fourth, hard tires hanging on for dear life. Leclerc is on him. George Russell smells blood too. The restart is chaos. Leclerc lunges, makes contact, and takes third. Russell dives in next, but Max isn't going to roll over. They bang wheels. Verstappen ends up off track. He rejoins, still ahead. The team tells him to hand the position back. He doesn't like it. He lifts for a second, then goes full max and makes contact with Russell again, going into turn 5. The FIA slaps him with a 10-second penalty and 3 points on his super license. One more mistake, and he's sitting out a race. Yet Max fought to the last inch of tarmac, rules be damned. And then there's Hamilton. While the Verstappen-Russell-Leclerc firestorm raged, Hamilton sat quietly in 6th. Solid points on the table. But with just a few laps to go, out of nowhere, Nico Hülkenberg and the Sauber snuck past him. No defense, no resistance, no dive bomb into turn 1. Just let it happen. That moment raised eyebrows. One of them belonged to Pedro de la Rosa, who bluntly told Dawson, he saw it was a Sauber behind. He was looking further ahead and thought, meh, it doesn't matter. But it did matter. And former Red Bull driver Sebastien Buemi wasn't buying it either. In an interview with Racing News 365, Buemi laid it out. Verstappen, in his words, is a fighter. No matter the grip level, no matter the tires, no matter how ugly it gets, he doesn't give an inch. He had that moment out of the last corner. The tires were gone, but he still fought, Buemi said. That's just Max. He doesn't give up. Then came the jab. I was surprised when Lewis let Hülkenberg through. I thought he'd close the door. He just didn't. It's a damning contrast. One world champion risking a race ban to hold position, the other surrendering 6th to a midfield car. Now, to be fair, Hamilton did regain the spot after Verstappen's penalty kicked in. But by that point, the damage was done, at least to his reputation for unrelenting racecraft. Verstappen may be under pressure from McLaren's rising stars and sitting on a disciplinary knife edge. But his hunger hasn't dulled. He's still swinging. Hamilton? That's the question. It's mid-season, and while the engines roar and the spotlight shines on the drivers, something quieter, but just as dramatic, is unfolding behind the scenes at Maranello. It's not about lap times or tire strategies. It's about power, direction, and whether the man in charge of Ferrari's Formula One future will still be around to see it unfold. There's a storm building, and at the center of it is Fred Vasseur. Let's rewind to the beginning of 2025. Ferrari was riding high on optimism. Charles Leclerc stayed on as the team's golden child. Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, had just walked through the gates of Maranello with the intent to make history. A revamped technical team was in place. The mission? End the drought. Bring the title back to Ferrari for the first time since 2008. On paper, it looked like a dream setup. But F1 doesn't care about paper. 9 races in, Ferrari is yet to win a Grand Prix. Hamilton is still searching for his first podium in red. And while Leclerc has managed to haul the team into second in the constructors' standings, they're staring up at a McLaren squad that has opened a 197-point chasm. That kind of gap doesn't just prompt concern, it triggers questions. Hard ones. The kind that go upstairs. While Vasseur has repeatedly played down concerns, defending his team and pointing out that new technical director Loic Serra inherited a concept already locked in before his arrival, the results on track aren't budging. Neither is the ride height issue that's plagued the SF25 since Australia. Ferrari is spending energy patching up what looks increasingly like a flawed platform. And as far as top brass in Italy are concerned, someone has to answer for it. As Vasseur preps for another critical weekend in Montreal, Someone else wearing the prancing horse is making noise elsewhere. Antonello Coletta, head of Ferrari's Le Mans hypercar program, has quietly built a winning machine. Under his leadership, Ferrari has conquered endurance racing's crown jewel twice and is hunting for a third straight Le Mans victory this weekend. His success hasn't gone unnoticed. Inside Ferrari HQ, whispers have turned into conversations, and conversations have reportedly evolved into scrutiny. According to Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera, Vasseur's position is now being openly evaluated by top management. The same report claims Coletta is once again being viewed as a potential replacement, despite turning down the role in the past. It's a clash of philosophies. Vasseur, brought in for stability and F1 specific experience, is now accused internally of being disconnected from Ferrari's deep-rooted culture. Coletta, meanwhile, is seen as the embodiment of the company's racing DNA. If Le Mans ends in another victory for the 499P hypercar, his case only grows stronger. The timing couldn't be more symbolic. Two major events unfolding the same weekend. One in Canada, one in France. One shaping Ferrari's F1 present, the other, possibly its future. And just to thicken the plot, yes, Red Bull's Christian Horner was approached by Ferrari earlier this year. But despite the rumors, Horner isn't biting. "My Italian is worse than Flavio's English," he joked in Barcelona. How on earth would that work? It started as a bold, some might say outrageous, experiment. Take a failing F1 team, slap a can of energy drink on the nose, put a 31-year-old in charge, and shake up the paddock. Sound like a gimmick? Back in 2005, plenty of people thought so. But that's exactly what Dietrich Mateschitz did when Red Bull bought Jaguar and made Christian Horner the youngest team principal on the grid. 2 decades later, after 400 Grand Prix and more than a dozen titles, Red Bull Racing is no longer the new kid with flashy suits and loud music. It's a dynasty. And at the center of that dynasty is still the same guy who walked into the paddock with something to prove. When Red Bull Racing made its debut, the paddock didn't exactly roll out the red carpet. They were outsiders, rebels, a private team with no manufacturer engine, run by a former junior team manager, backed by a company that sold energy drinks. To the F1 elite, it was all very unserious. But Red Bull didn't care. In fact, they leaned into the image. Monaco, Star Wars pit crew, garage, turned into a club. Drivers, guys with swagger and edge. While traditional teams stayed stiff and buttoned up, Red Bull threw a wrench into the status quo, and fans loved it. What made people sit up and take notice, though, wasn't the music or the marketing. It was what happened on track. Horner, alongside David Coulthard, pulled off the coup of the decade by convincing Adrian Newey, yes, that Adrian Newey, to walk away from McLaren. That single move put Red Bull on the path to the big leagues. A few seasons later, they snagged their first win in China. A year after that, Sebastien Vettel took the title, the first of 4 consecutive championships that made everyone realize Red Bull wasn't playing around. Fast forward to today, and the numbers speak volumes. 124 wins, 14 world championships, a win rate of over 30% since joining the grid. Only Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes have done more, and Red Bull is catching up fast. Horner has been at the helm for every single one of those 400 races. That's not just longevity, that's legacy. You'd think that after 20 years, the guy might start looking at the exit sign, a cushy retirement, maybe a role in the paddock club, sipping champagne and giving media sound bites. But if you think Christian Horner's winding down, think again. He's not just sticking around, he's doubling down. As rumors swirl about job offers from rival teams, about Red Bull power plays, about his future, Horner's response is crystal clear. My heart and soul are here. That's not PR fluff. He's been through the drama, the dips, the dominance, and through it all, he's built something unique, something personal. In a recent interview, he reflected on the road so far. He talked about the early days, how Helmut Marko introduced him to Mateschitz, how he was given a shot despite his age, how hard those first few seasons were. But what sticks with you isn't just the nostalgia, it's the drive. Even now, with titles stacked on his office shelf and new talent still coming through the pipeline, Horner isn't thinking about stepping aside. If anything, he's looking forward to the next big chapter, building Red Bull's own engine, in-house under one roof. For a guy who once ran a junior team out of a trailer, it doesn't get more ambitious than that. And sure, he's had plenty of suitors. Ferrari reportedly made an approach. Alpine's name floated around, but Horner shrugs it off. "I've invested a big part of my life here," he says. "I feel a responsibility to the people." Maybe that's the secret. The reason Red Bull became more than just a race team. It was never about just winning. It was about identity, culture, attitude. And Christian Horner, love him or hate him, has been the heartbeat of that from day one. So what's next? He'll stay. He'll build the next chapter. He'll aim for 500 races. And knowing Horner, he's probably already planning win number 200, because Red Bull doesn't just race to win, they race to disrupt. And Christian Horner, he's still all in.